Okay, let's see if I can do this. I hope I can get something done today. It's already fucking 2:30 almost, and I haven't even got squat done. Delia's job. Because of you, the High Bishop kicked me out of his chambers. Wait, High Bishop. Oh yeah, duh. What am I saying? I was watching the anime before. Kicked me out of his chambers. What are you going to do about this? Yelled Delia in fury after racing up the stairs to my room. I wasn't sure how far she had run, but her dark red hair was a straggling mess. As she was out of breath as she stood in front of me. I had been so busy preparing the kitchen the past few days that I honestly hadn't seen her in what felt like a long time. This is all your fault. You made the High Priest give you a room but didn't say anything to me, so the High Bishop started calling me incompetent. Jeez. I get the room through official channels, only warned it for a place to change clothes. I couldn't inform Delia since I didn't know where she was. So if you ask me, her being called incompetent was no fault of mine. Yeah, it is not. She's the one who walked off and said, "Oh, I'm not needed here. I'll just leave," and walked off and didn't even come back. If she had been there like an attendant like she was supposed to be, then she would have heard all this. But no, it's her own fault. What do you even want from me, Delia? Let me stay in your chambers. What else? I am your attendant after all. Know your place. Before I could even understand what was happening, Benno slammed a fist under her head. Wow. Wow, Benno, that wasn't in the dang show. Delia blinked in stunned surprise, and I was shocked too, and looked around the room with her hands on her head. Delia, you shouldn't act like that in front of a visitor. What were you expecting? Why should I have to listen to a commoner like you? Seems like you still don't understand, huh? Benno narrowed his eyes and raised a fist, leading to Delia to clamp her mouth shut. Gil jerked in fear too. Probably remember the time Lutz had punched him. Benno turned to me. Mine, you don't need someone who can't even do their job right. Hiring someone with no motivation to work is a waste of money. Get rid of her, he spat out. The fact that Lutz had said the same thing about Gil showed just how much Benno was influencing him. Well, Benno has a point. If Delia's not wanting to do her job, then there's no point in her being there. Fran, I don't entirely understand what position Delia is in right now. Does being kicked out of the High Bishop's chamber mean that he has cut ties with her? That must have been accurate as visible tears brimmed in the corner of Delia's eyes as she glared at me and protested with a cracked voice. He hasn't cut me off yet. I cannot say for certain that she was cut off, right? Who would cut off a cute girl like me? Delia's face lit up at Fran's words, but Fran hit Delia with a harsh reality, his expression never changing. Delia, Delia did not know that you had been given chambers. Could not serve you because she did not know where the chambers were, and ultimately could provide no information of value whatsoever to the High Bishop. It would be unsurprising for him to be highly displeased with her, explained Fran flatly as Delia opened her eyes wide in disbelief. It seemed that he was reasonably angry at Delia for not only failing to do her job as an attendant, but attempting to cause me, her master, problems as well. His expression didn't change, but that just made his anger feel more sincere. If Delia was assigned to you due to her age, it is likely that the High Bishop thought that she would become fast friends with you, and thus a reliable source of information. That she instead acted with blatant hostility from the start and put you on your guard immediately was no doubt an incredible disappointment for the High Bishop. Yeah. She should have done her job. She was sent to be a spy, to get information from the High Bishop. And yet she couldn't even do that right because she blatantly stated that she was there for nefarious purposes. No way. Delia's expression went blank. Then, the moment after she realized that she really had been completely cut off by the High Bishop, she smiled sweetly at Fran. But it would be ridiculous for an apprentice shrine maiden to have no girl attendants, isn't that right? In a move befitting her cunning personality, Delia's attempt to secure a place for herself wasn't targeted at me, her master, but instead Fran, an adult with the highest standing among my attendants. Didn't she do this for Benno and he just essentially shoved her off with no second thought? Fran, who usually didn't let his emotions show on his face, glared at Delia with his disgust completely visible. Then he gave a cold smile. Sister mine commutes to the temple from home, so she does not need an attendant to dress her or the like. The past few days have proven that your absence will cause no problem whatsoever. In any case, if necessary, she can simply select a new attendant from the orphanage. She could do that. And the only reason that they don't do that is because the High Bishop has put her there. That's the only reason that Delia is even there in the first place. I had thought that I wouldn't be able to get rid of Delia since the High Bishop had assigned her to me, but yeah. See? But the situation had changed, and apparently I could get new attendants if I wanted. That's a good suggestion, I observed, which made Delia bite her lip with tears starting to drip down her cheeks. You're going to kick me out, too? And I saw Delia's far too pretty tears. I understood without a doubt that she really had been born just to be doted on by men. The moment she was put in an inconvenient situation, she started crying and acting sweet. She was even looking up at me at an angle with the perfect puppy dog eyes. She knew full well that girls could use their looks as a weapon even at a young age. It was honestly impressive that she was so comfortable with her own cuteness. If I had tried the same thing when I was a Rano, I would have been kicked away and called gross. To be honest, it was pretty annoying to see her act all sad and innocent after spending days being nothing but mean and insulting to me. But, well, would it still be pretty cool to kick a crying little girl out onto the street? A heavy silence fell into the room with nobody wanting to say anything, but that only lasted a few seconds. Don't know why you're worrying about being kicked out when you don't even live here. You're not one of us. With a smile on his face, Gil stomped on the sympathetic atmosphere that Delia had built up. What? There's no room here for people who don't do their job. No food either. The saying goes, he who does not work shall not eat. Right, sister mine? Gil puffed out his chest with pride, happy to have remembered what I had told him. I wasn't sure if he fully understood the significance of what he just said, but I was glad he had spoken up when no one else wanted to. I would need to give him lots of praise later. And naturally, I ignored Benno when he murmured, is that something a girl too weak to do any work should be saying? Ignore that. I gave Gil a room and plenty to eat because he's working hard for me. I don't have anything to give to someone who refuses to do their job. Okay, I get it. I just have to do my job, said Delia before sliding onto Benno's lap. There we go, here we go. Onto Benno's lap and looking up at him with a smile, leaning her back against him. I blinked in confusion, not really understanding what was happening. Benno grimaced hard and shook his head. Sorry, but I'm not interested in a kid like you. Get off. He's not angry because of what anything mine is doing. He's angry at you, girl. See, your visitor is all mad because there aren't any Grange Shrine Maidens here, proclaimed Delia with a smug, victorious smile while climbing off Benno's lap. In other words, she had just shown me the job that the High Bishop's Shrine Maidens' attendants were expected to do. Oh, God. I feel bad for them now. I wanted to cradle my head in horror, and it seemed Benno felt the same way. He glared at Delia while rubbing his temples and making an attempt to hide his disgust. Wait, did he say no attempt or attempt? No attempt to hide his disgust. I'm not interested in flowers to begin with. Don't mistake me for one of those nobles that come here just to admire the flowers. Oh, so he means flowers as in, the girls. Yeah, because Benno is a bachelor through and through. He will not go for anyone else other than Liz. And Liz sadly died. So, yeah, he's not looking for any girl. Or woman. Wait, what? Wait, does that mean Delia's job up until now had been to take care of the High Bishop's attendant mistresses while refining her own beauty and skills to become his mistress in the future. That and to show sweet smiles to his visitors. I don't need or want any of my attendants to do that. Thank you. Okay, who the fuck is doing that? I can clean too. One of my jobs was to take care of the High Bishop's clothes, and I even kept his room clean too, said Delia as she squeezed my sleeve tightly. I could tell that upon realizing the skills she had honed over her whole life didn't matter to me, her self-confidence and internal sense of values had started to crumble. Her expression stiffened, and she looked around the room wearing neither a sweet smile nor fake tears. But nobody offered to help cute Delia. It was probably true that Delia had been kicked out of the High Bishop's chambers, and that she was in trouble. I looked up at Fran, not sure what I should do. He sighed reluctantly. I believe an evening in the repentance chamber will suffice. It is true that she must repent for attempting to sabotage you after all. I'll repent. I'll do my job properly from now on, so please, don't kick me out. Don't say you don't need me, pleaded Delia desperately, visibly holding back real tears. The intensity of her voice made me open my eyes wide. Upon looking around the room, I saw both Fran and Gil making hurt expressions as well, as if they too had been told they weren't needed in the past. Well, Gil, I can understand, but Fran should never have been told that. Gil was a problem child who was sent to the repentance chamber regularly. Fran had suffered deeply when he thought the high priest had abandoned him. Delia's plight had probably unearthed those memories within them. Fran, if Delia does her job properly, then I have no issue with her serving me. If that is your wish, sister mine. Fran let out a small sigh of relief, then looked at Delia with a stern expression. Delia, if you wish to work here, you must first watch your language more carefully. Sister mine does not need a disloyal attendant who does not consider her as their master. Understood. Thanks to Delia saying she'll do her job properly, I successfully avoided having to kick out a crying little girl. I put a hand on my chest and sighed in relief. So, Delia, what exactly can you do? I can keep this room clean and organized like a blue shrine maiden's room should be. Starting here. Delia shot a finger in the direction of what I had thought to be a closet. In reality, it was a bathroom with a shower I hadn't noticed, since there was nothing in the room that would give that impression. Why has the bathroom not been prepared despite how many days it has been? Putting aside washing yourself, how have you been relieving yourself? There's a bathroom on the first floor, so I was going down there and cleaning it up myself. Come again? Unbelievable, geez, the first floor bathroom is for servants, and not only that, but for men as well. Have some shame. She didn't know that? Is it just me, or has her attitude not really changed that much? Delia started listing off everything that was missing in the room, including a mirror stand and a work desk. I had been both eating and writing on that round table in the middle of the room, but apparently that was shameful for her blue shrine maiden to be doing. How is that I don't get how that's shameful. Although I didn't intend to take a bath here, she was quite insistent on preparing the bathroom anyway, just in case. Mr. Benno, can you take care of this? Leave it to me. If you're missing this much stuff, yeah, you definitely need an attendant that knows how shrine maidens operate. And with someone yelling at you like that, maybe you'll learn to act a bit more like a noble girl. After all that was done, Delia brought a jug of water to the second floor. I would need water up here to wash my face and hands, and to clean up after relieving myself. I had thought that Delia would be more like a weak princess type since she had been aiming to be a mistress. But she had both the arm strength and stamina necessary to carry a heavy jug of water up to the second floor of my room. No, girl, I think you're just weak. I can't believe you didn't even have water up here. Jeez. After watching Delia start doing her job while complaining basically to herself, Fran returned to the kitchen and Gil started cleaning the first floor. I took my first bite of the dessert and talked to Benno in between mouthfuls. By the way, the High Priest ordered me to prepare ceremonial blue robes. What exactly is he looking for? What makes them special? They are quite different from your normal robes and are designed to attract the attention of those outside the temple, much like the special outfit you wore at your baptism. There is green embroidery, your family crest, and... Benno paused mid-sentence, then shot me a surprised look. Wait, when are you going to a ceremony? I don't know exactly how long it takes to make a pair of ceremonial robes for nobles, but no chance is it going to be ready by tomorrow. Why would she need it for tomorrow? I could tell by him breaking his polite tone of speech that he was anxious. Naturally, since clothes weren't made in seconds by machines here, it would take some time to prepare the robes. He said I wouldn't go too many since I'm just an apprentice, but that's all I know. Maybe Fran knows when the next ceremony is? Hey, Fran... I started to call for Fran, but Benno blocked my mouth with a hand and pointed with his eyes at the bell on the table. Oh, right, I used the bell when calling for people. I rung the bell and heard Fran climbing the stairs. What can I do for you, sister mine? The High Priest told me to prepare ceremonial robes, but I don't know when the next ceremony will be. Do you know, Fran? If the Night Order summons the help of the temple in the fall, that will be the soonest ceremony that you must attend. Fall, huh? Might be rough if I'm going to have to start from scratch. Naturally, when it came to making a special outfit for a noble, one had to start with picking the thread with which to weave the cloth. As Benno frowned, Fran pointed at the window box by the wall. Or wooden box by the wall. What if you use the cloth you gifted to the temple? It is very high quality and should be usable after being dyed to the proper color. Excuse me. Good idea. That should give us enough time. Mine doesn't have a family crest, though. Is that going to be a problem? Does her workshop have a crest? I'll make one myself. As Fran and Benno discussed the design of the ceremonial robes, I began thinking up a design for my workshop's crest. I wanted it to just be a book with a pen and ink nearby, but Fran and Benno shot that down for being too simple. I added the wood used to make the paper, flowers for hairpins, and organized it all in the shape of a proper crest. Fran was very satisfied with how elegant and feminine it was, which was fine by me. Sister mine, the chefs have finished preparing dinner. I see. In that case, would you check to see if they have finished cleaning up? On my orders, Fran checked the kitchen, talked with the chefs about tomorrow's plans, then saw them off. The chefs leaving meant it was also time for me to leave. I'll be going home for today. Please get changed, you two. Gil and Fran quickly went to their individual rooms to change clothes. Les would soon be leaving the city with Benno on business, so my attendants were getting used to accompanying me to my commutes. I took off my blue robes and prepared for the way home, but when I started undoing my sash, Delia stepped in front of me with her head held high and her expression steaming with anger. Just what do you think you're doing, sister mine? Changing my clothes? I let go of my sash, remembering that nobles weren't supposed to change clothes on their own. I lifted my arms and waited for Delia to change me, only to see her eyes twist with anger. Changing in front of a man? Absolutely shameless, yelled Delia while glancing at Benno, who was still sitting at the table. She's not taking... All she's doing is slipping the robes over her head. How is that shameful? I don't get it, guys. I blinked in surprise, having not expected her to get so mad when I had a full set of clothes on underneath the robes. Sorry, but they're just robes. I have clothes on under them. You should only take your clothes off in front of men when attempting to seduce them. If you let every man see you change willy-nilly, your value as a woman will drop dramatically. This is really something you should know already. Jeez. Okay. Well, I don't think we're on the same page here. But she's getting mad for my sake, so it's kind of hard to point that out. Please wait in the hall, Master Benno, said Delia. Although she is very young, we are talking about a woman changing here. Thank you for your understanding. Well, can't argue with you there. Benno stifled a laugh and went down the stairs. After making sure he was gone, Delia undid my sash and took off my robes. She worked quickly and efficiently with her experience taking care of the gray shrine maidens, making it self-evident. She neatly folded up my blue robes and adjusted my hair stick back into place. Sister mine is ready now. Delia stuck her head out the door into the stairway and called out down the stairs. There she froze with her eyes looking down the steps. What are those clothes? A gift from Sister Mine. Gil's voice alone made it clear how much he wanted to brag. No doubt he was puffing out his chest of pride. No fair. What about me? I got this for doing my job, right? You didn't get any since you weren't doing your job. What job did you even do? I cleaned this place up. She gave me a gift since I worked hard all on my own. Pretty nice, aren't they? Whatever. I'm not jealous of them or anything. Delia, frustrated and envious beyond belief, cut the conversation short with tears brimming in her eyes. She glared sharply at me and pointed at the stairs. They're waiting for you. Maybe you should hurry and go. Well, I bought some clothes for you too, but I guess you don't want them. Delia looked at me, her eyes so wide it looked like her eyeballs were going to fall right out of her head. I never said I didn't want them. Not once. I took the last cloth bundle out of the closet and held it out to Delia. She reached out to touch it, then pulled her hands back with a glance in my direction. You don't mind? You'll work hard for me from now on, won't you? Well, you won't know anything without me around. I don't have any other choice. With her cheeks blushing red, Delia snatched the bundle out of my hands and ran off to her room on the second floor, avoiding eye contact. Hey, you coming down yet? Please wait a moment, Delia's changing. I looked at the door to Delia's room while replying to Gil's impatient call. She was taking a lot of time just to change clothes. No matter how long I waited, she just wasn't coming out. Are you done yet, Delia? I opened the door and saw Delia dancing around in her new clothes, singing some song with a broad smile on her face. The moment we made eye contact, she froze, then gripped her skirt tightly and began trembling. She glared at me with her face red all the way to her ears. Don't open the door without knocking. Jeez. Oh my gosh, she caught her being silly. Many days passed since Delia began doing her job. I was going to the temple every day, excluding the Earth days that Mom, Tuli, and everyone else in the world had off too. That was because the stuff I had ordered through Benno was arriving. I needed to write new recipes on boards for the chefs, and most importantly, I wanted as much time to read as possible. Over the course of those days, my attendants had more or less found a fair split of the work between them. Delia took direct care of my person in the form of cleaning the bathrooms, washing my expensive clothes, and keeping the second floor tidy in general. She had recently learned how to make tea from Fran and was now making it for me in his place. Gil mainly cleaned the first floor and the outside of the chamber, plus kept an eye on the chefs. Fran was in the process of beating proper language and manners into him. When I told him that Lutz had learned to read and could do math over the winter, his competitive spirit ignited, and he started saying he'd do the same thing. But he had a mountain of things he had to learn from Fran first, apparently. Meanwhile, Fran was doing everything else, including double-checking the other two's work. He went with me to the high priest's room in the morning to do paperwork, carried our lunches leftovers to the orphanage, informed the chefs of the afternoon menu, checked that we had the ingredients, and went to the bookroom with me. He managed my health, informed the relevant people when Benno came over, trained the other two attendants as they were apprentices, and taught me how to live as a noble. Fran was doing it all. He was even reading the recipes to the chefs and double-checking the storage room to make sure nothing was being taken. Apparently. I asked Fran if he had too much work, worried that he was overworking himself, but he said he had it easy since I wasn't summoning him unexpectedly in the middle of the night. Fran was just way too good for me. My gratitude for Fran and my trust in him was shooting up, as was the salary I intended to pay him. I was so grateful to the High Priest for assigning Fran to me that I didn't know how I could ever repay him. Yeah, you got a good one with Fran, definitely. Today was supposed to be a day off to me, but I went to the temple anyway. What I once thought was a storage room on the second floor was being installed with a marble bathtub, which was apparently popular with nobles lately, and I needed to be there to pay. It would be a lot of work to heat up water in the kitchen and bring it all the way to the bathtub, and I was already washing myself at home with Thule, so I didn't need the bathtub like that. But when I said, "Won't a tub do just fine?" Delia got mad at me, yelling in reply, "Geez, what are you even saying? Even the High Bishop's attendants use proper bathtubs." Delia wanted to use the newly installed bathtub as soon as possible. I told her she could go ahead and use it, but she once again got mad. Do you expect me to use it without my master? Jeez. Apparently blue shrine maidens got wood to heat up the water, but gray shrine maidens only got cold water. Would you prepare it for me then? It seemed to me that carrying hot water up from the kitchen would make preparing the bathtub a miserable experience, but Delia did it happily. Well, if she's happy, who am I to stop her? She made you take a bath with her because she wants to use hot water. Delia washed my hair with Friend Sham, put on my clothes, combed my hair, and after blissfully touching my hair to confirm that it was silky smooth, excitedly went into the bath herself to use the rest of the warm water. I can imagine that she put a lot of effort into polishing her appearance. Sister mine, please take care not to trust Delia too much. She still has ties to the High Bishop, warned Fran with a displeased expression as he brought me drinks during Delia's bath. I giggled a little about how serious he looked. I knew that. She just told me happily that she got to talk to the High Bishop's attendants again. She puffed out her chest with pride and said, "I knew he would never abandon someone as cute as me." But she would still be living in my chambers rather than the High Bishop's. It would be better that way, both for her job and for getting information from me. The High Bishop's chambers had 2 adult Grey Priests, 3 adult Shrine Maidens, and 3 apprentices like Delia. In other words, the 3 apprentices had to take care of 6 people, including the High Bishop. But Delia only had to take care of me when she was here. Plus, she didn't have to do as much for me as she would for the other blue priests. And on top of that, Fran didn't trust Delia, so he gave her significantly less work than the High Bishop Grey Priest did. All in all, serving me afforded Delia much more time to hone her skills and appearance, which was a large boon to her since she hadn't given up on being a mistress when she grew up. She told me that she didn't want to serve someone as an apprentice her whole life. She wanted to be on the winning side, the side that got to use other people. That didn't seem to be an entirely healthy mindset to me, but I appreciated how much effort she put into accomplishing her dreams. Delia might still be tied to the High Bishop, but if she takes her job seriously, that's fine with me. I'll be careful about what things I tell her, though I'm not completely sure what information I should be hiding from her, to be honest. Sister mine, that is hardly reassuring. Fran sighed and said not to tell her much about Lutz or my family, explaining that they were my biggest weakness. Once Delia got out of the bath, it was time for lunch. Today's lunch was fluffy bread rolls, vegetable and bacon consomme soup, and herb roasted chicken. Gil and Delia took turns serving each meal, while the one not serving ate lunch at the same time as me. Fran was excluded from being a server as he was going to the orphanage to deliver the divine gifts, and because he had to stay with me in the bookroom. Sister mine, I will be taking the divine gifts to the orphanage. Yes, thank you. The wagon waiting outside of my chambers had the still warm soup, bread, and meat leftovers stacked on it. Delia and Gil yet lacked the strength to push the heavy wagon, which meant Fran was the only one who could do it. Huh? Is Fran already gone? After Fran left, Gil came out of the kitchen carrying a basket filled with some bread. He checked outside, saw that the wagon was gone, and looked down at his basket. What's wrong, Gil? Delia said that this was way too much bread to eat, so I thought maybe I could catch Fran before he left. No point saving them for dinner either, because the chefs are saying they'll baking more bread later. There haven't been many divine gifts for the orphanage lately, correct? I think it would be better to carry the bread to them than to throw it away. Yeah, sounds good. Gil laughed and readjusted his grip on the basket. No doubt those in the orphanage will be glad to get even just 4 extra rolls of bread. Actually, Gil, would it be acceptable for me to go with you? I would like to see what the orphanage is like for myself at least once. Uh-oh. Here we go. My chambers had a different entrance, but as it was still part of the orphanage, I would have expected for me to see some of the children by now. And yet I hadn't seen a single one. I had seen apprentices like Delia and Gil cleaning the temple, washing clothes by the well, taking care of animals, and so on, but I hadn't seen any of the pre-baptism orphans. All right, I'll take you there. I know a shortcut. Follow me. Gil sounded proud as he headed to the gate like someone about to share a secret. A shortcut would be perfect for someone without stamina like me. He spun around the building, then went down the stairs in front of the chapel. The summer sun made the white marble stairs gleam brightly. I normally only walked in the morning or in the evening when it was cool out, but now noon was hot as you would expect in the summer. The orphanage's dining room is in the girls' building. The girls' building has pre-baptism kids, gray shrine maidens that weren't attendants, and apprentices. Boys go to the boys' building after being baptized. When giving divine gifts, it makes more sense for working boys to go there, for working boys to go to the girls' building than for girls and kids to go to the boys' building, yeah? I followed Gil down the steps while listening to his explanation, and eventually we came across a somewhat hidden entrance to the orphanage, built into the side of the staircase. There was a bar lock on the outside of the door, which made it seem like it was there to keep the people inside from getting out, rather than to keep the outsiders from getting in. Most people don't know this door opens. From the inside, it just looks like a part of the wall, and nobody ever opens it. How do you know about it, then? When I was little, it opened just once in the middle of the night. Someone gestured at us, then a gray shrine maiden went in running off. It closed real soon, but ever since then, I started to really want to go outside. I thought maybe somebody would be waiting for me. Gil grinned nostalgically and set the breadbasket on the ground to take off the bar. He then pulled on the door hard, using all of his weight since the hinges were rusted and the door just wouldn't move. When it finally burst open, a wave of heat and an awful smell came rushing out, making me reflexively grab my nose. Gil did the same with a grunt. It was a smell too awful to bear, even for someone used to the smells of a city. With the door, it probably smells like body fluids and death, is probably what it smells like. With the door open and letting light in, we could clearly see the inside of the room. Atop a layer of moldy hay covered in urine and fecal matter were several naked young toddlers sprawled on the floor with lifeless expressions on their faces. It didn't seem to have any windows, so even with the bright summer light streaming inside, it was still dark. Divine gifts? Upon noticing the smell of the gifts, some of the toddlers let out cracked voices and came crawling toward us with gleaming eyes. Black stuff was stuck to the bare skin that clung tightly to their bones. They looked like starving African refugee children that I had only ever seen in photos before. And the sight of them crawling toward me made me feel more horror than pity. Yeah, kind of a little creepy. I felt an indescribable sense of fear and froze in place, my teeth chattering. No, I squeaked out fearfully, which seemed to knock Gil back to his senses. He hurriedly shut the door and put the bar back on the door. We heard the sound of their fists hitting the door, but they were weak strikes without much strength to them, far from enough strength to break the door open. As the relief of having escaped the terror mixed with the disgusted horror of what I had seen in the orphanage, and I collapsed on the floor, my head going completely blank. When I came to, I was in my own room. I was resting on something hard, and a touch revealed I wasn't on a cotton stuffed mattress that nobles used, or a hay stuffed mattress that I used at home. I was resting on the plain board that had been left in the abandoned director's chambers. I looked to my side and saw that Gil was sitting on top of a chair, hugging his knees as if trying to shrink into as small of a ball as possible. Gil, you're awake. Thank the gods, I'm so sorry. Gil looked at me with tearful eyes, but before he could finish his sentence, Delia started yelling from the other side of the bed. What were you thinking taking Sister Mine to the girls' building? And the back entrance at that? It's not my fault. I didn't know things were like that there. I didn't know that things were like that there now. Gil's words stirred my memories of what I had seen in the orphanage, the closed room, the hay covered in urine and fecal matter, the starved, bony toddlers without a scrap of clothing on. That was simply not a place for raising kids. Given the lack of airflow, it was worse than even an unkempt farm stable. The second the memories came back to me, goosebumps covered my skin, and I felt the contents of my stomach lurching over. I jumped up and swallowed hard to keep from throwing up on the spot. Fran, seeing me, covered my mouth to hold back the vomit, pushed his way past Gil to be by my side. Forgive me, Sister Mine. I apologize from the bottom of my heart for allowing you to see that embarrassing sight. Please forget everything you saw. Fran calling the horrible state of the orphanage embarrassing and telling me to forget it threw me off, so I looked at Gil. That was really the orphanage? It wasn't anything like what you told me. I moved to the boys' building after being baptized, so I had no idea what was going on in the girls' building. That place wasn't like that at all when I was there, Sister Mine. Gil, he's 10, right? Isn't Delia like 7? So of course it wasn't like that 3 years when he left. Gil lowered his eyes and spoke in a weak voice. Delia glared at him and let out a then explained. It's because when the blue priest left, a lot of gray shrine maidens left the temple too. Little kids started dying all the time without people to take care of them. I just sat down there waiting for my baptism so I could move up to the first floor. But well, I only know what it was like there a year ago. It must be a lot worse now. I don't even want to think about it. Delia lowered her eyes, trembling slightly. She only knows what it was like a year ago, so that means she's 8. Gil was 10 years old, so he was baptized 3 entire years ago. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Delia was 8, and apparently things were pretty awful even when she was baptized a year ago. According to her, Gray Shrine Maidens started leaving one after another a year and a half ago. And without anyone to take care of them, the orphan children were abandoned and only brought food twice a day at best. When I was brought for my baptism, I was told by a Gray Shrine Maiden that I was too dirty to be presented to the Blue Priest. She scrubbed me clean so hard my entire body hurt. But the moment all the filth was off me, she started talking about how cute I was and how I'd grow up to be beautiful. Right after my baptism, I was taken to the High Bishop. There were 3 kids with me. I got to be an apprentice attendant, but the other kids didn't get picked and were sent back to the orphanage. Upon learning why Delia was so attached to her own cuteness and why she avoided the orphanage so much, I felt my heart get even heavier. Sister Mine, interjected Gil, please save them. I'm begging you, please. Stop, Gil. Sister Mine, you must not get involved with these matters. Fran rejected Gil's pleas with a harsh look on his face. I honestly didn't want to actively get involved with the orphanage, since just remembering the orphans made me sick. But I hadn't expected Fran to reject the idea so firmly when he himself was from the orphanage. Why not? Yelled Gil as if speaking in my place, and Fran gave a firm reply. It's too dangerous. Sister Mine has a tendency to grow extremely protective of those close to her, of her allies. As seen when she used her mana on the High Bishop to protect her family. If she gets involved with the orphanage and considers herself their ally, she might stand in opposition to the Blue Priest in order to protect the orphans. It would be wise to minimize the chance of her subconsciously unleashing her mana. With Gil pleading for my help and Fran opposing the idea, I reluctantly turned to Delia to hear what her thoughts were. If they can be saved, I think you should, but I don't want to get involved, and I don't want to remember them. I want to forget it all, said Delia with a stiff expression before turning her head away from me. Gil scrunched his face up, hurt to learn that nobody was on his side. He grit his teeth and looked at me with wavering eyes before slowly getting on his knees and crossing his arms in front of his chest. Sister Mine, please. Save them. I tightened my lips at Gil's wholehearted plea. In general, I wanted to help the suffering where I could. For example, if someone asked me to do something specific, in concrete terms to help, and it was within my power to do so, I would. But if someone asked me to spend the rest of my life helping, or if someone asked me to help without explaining how, I would be at a loss. In my Arano days, I participated in charity drives sometimes, but generally only did community service when my college demanded it, since I was only interested in books. Furthermore, ever since becoming mine, I was constantly relying on the help of others due to my sickness and weakness. I could offer advice based on my life experience on Earth, but anything that required moving would have to be done by other people. Ultimately, it was hard to think that I would be much help to the orphanage myself. Well, if you can get the ball rolling, they could help. Right now, I like doing my job because you praise me for it, Sister Mine, and I like working hard because I get paid more. The food's good, I get to eat as much as I want, and I can sleep with my legs stretched out in my own room. My leg's great now, but they're stuck down there like that. I'm sorry, Gil, there's almost nothing I can do for them. I'm not a true noble, and I don't think I can ignore Fran's advice so lightly. Gil looked up, his expression hurt, but I was just a commoner who had narrowly earned the right to wear blue robes through leveraging my mana and money in times of trouble. I couldn't promise to save the orphanage so easily when I knew so little, and I couldn't bear the responsibility of looking after the orphanages from here on out. But at the very least, I will ask the High Priest about this. If there's any idle Grey Priests, I'll ask if they can work in the orphanage, or maybe I'll see if there's a bit more room in the budget for food. I'll see if there's anything the High Priest can do to make the orphanage's situation better. Thank you, Sister Mine. The High Priest was handling the budget and inner workings of the entire temple himself. He should be able to send more money to the orphanage, or search for caretakers if asked to. I sighed in relief, thinking he might just solve everything, but Fran lowered his eyes and shook his head. There's no need for you to get involved, Sister Mine. I am just asking the High Priest for help, nothing more. Please arrange a meeting with him. If the High Priest couldn't do anything, I surely couldn't, and he might be able to give me more advice on what to do going forward. At the very least, it would be a lot better than worrying on my own without even knowing what options are available to me. I repeated my request to Fran, and he hesitantly agreed to arrange a meeting. Okay, let's see, how far have I gotten? Okay. I think I'm going to end this session here, and I'll see y'all next time.